My name is Jason Liao. I'm a first-year MBA student at Anderson. And with me, this is Weishen Wu. She's an undergrad at UCLA studying economics. We are the student directors for today's Advanced Technologies panel discussion. And our topic today is the importance of collaboration in technological innovation and scientific advancements, opportunities for Chinese and US companies. Chinese technology companies have been seizing opportunities to expand their businesses and permeate virtually every aspect of users' daily life by providing convenient solutions from e-commerce to online gaming. Companies based in China have also shifted their attention beyond just their domestic market, and this trend is expected to continue. So today, our panelists will share their experiences driving innovation by delivering and developing new technologies, products, and market strategies. They will discuss trends in cross-border investment and share their vision on the future technological innovation and scientific advancements, as well as opportunities and challenges for tech companies going forward.
Now we're delighted to welcome the following speakers to this panel. Jeff Barney, Chief Operating Officer of TP-Link North America. Jim Chen, Director AI Lab of SUNY USA R&D Center. Patrick Duan, Vice President of Operations of BYD Motors. And Charlene Li, General Manager of iFlyTech North America. This panel will be moderated by John Blevins, who is the Faculty Director for UCLA Anderson's Eaton Technology Management Center and an adjunct professor who teaches strategic management for technology-based businesses. He is also an alumnus of UCLA Anderson's Executive MBA program. He specializes in emerging technologies that are disrupting traditional business models, including cloud computing, big data, social media, analytics, mobility, and technology convergence. He brings together various high-technology sectors with the resources of UCLA Anderson, its students, and faculty. Now please join me in welcoming our moderator and panelists.
One of the things that's really great about this session is we want to understand how interconnected these two economies are. And of course, the US economy is a very established economy. It has a very large service sector, a very large IP-based sector. And the Chinese economy is a dual economy, one in transition, one that's bringing up from a manufacturing sector into a very large IP-based sector. And so we're starting to see those two things across. And what we realize is that these two economies need to collaborate for the benefit of both. And today we wanted to discuss some of those things. The key things we wanted to talk about was really the state of where US-China relations are regarding intellectual property and sharing of technology. Also the ability for ways that we can improve that collaboration and other ways that we can have future collaboration possibilities. So let me just start. And Charlene, let me start with you. You're the general manager for iFlyTech. First of all, could you tell us a little bit about that role, what you do? But I'd really like the audience to hear why technology collaboration is so important to you and your business.
iFlyTech is the largest speech technology company in China, and we have about over 9,000 employees over the world, and our market cap is about 15 billion US dollars. Mm-hmm. And why we are here? Okay, actually, iFlyTech, we started our speech technology since 1999. That means we have dedicated to our speech innovation since for 19 years. Mm-hmm. And originally we focused on Chinese language, which enabled us dominate the domestic market. Then over the time, after some exposure, international exposures, mm-hmm. we got more and more feedbacks from our overseas potential customers and partners. and we saw exciting, market opportunities and demands from overseas, not only from China but internationally. So last year we started an office in the Silicon Valley, and which has been known for as a source of the innovation in the world. We believe this office will facilitate iFlyTech technology collaboration with the most innovative companies and research institutes in the world. Those collaborations will help push iFlyTech products and service to a next level. Moreover, as we all know, U.S. commercial market is the most mature market in the world, and U.S. customers, especially customers are most demanding ones.
Yeah.
So by exposure and experience in these markets, through offering our products and service, we hope that we can serve our customers better globally.
Okay, well, good. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
Patrick, let's go to you. You are the Vice President of Operations for BYD, and obviously amazing automotive and battery technology. Could you tell us about your role at the company and also why you feel the collaboration is such an important part of your business?
Sure. I've been with BYD, thank you. I've been with BYD for about 14 years, and 2 years working at the headquarters and about 12 years in the US working for BYD America. So BYD started in the US in 1999. We started as a rechargeable battery manufacturer and then a second largest manufacturer of consumer electronics products. So one of our major IT customers was Motorola. So we started with Chicago in 1999 with a small office in Chicago with about 15 people. And then 2008, 2009, we decided to bring over BYD's electrified transportation technology to the US. So we thought about California. So
and that's in LA, true.
Exactly.
Here, yes.
So we relocated the North American headquarters from Chicago to LA and started over there. 3 years after that, we acquired a manufacturing facility in the city of Lancaster. Anyone who doesn't know where Lancaster is north, about 70 miles north of here, with about 20 people, 20 employees. And then right now we have about 800 employees, manufacturing jobs in Lancaster, manufacturing electric buses for US customers, including UCLA. We delivered a couple all electric buses to the campus of UCLA. Very proud
The Bruin
of that.
buses, exactly. Okay. Okay, and Jeff, let's go to you. You're the Chief Operating Officer of TP-Link, a pretty large firm here in North America. You guys have amazing sales here. Can you tell us about your role and why the collaboration means so much?
TP-Link is the world's largest wireless router company. Has been for 7 straight years. The share in the United States, although we're not number 1 in the United States, we're number 1 in over 100 countries. The business here started about 8 years ago. We have a Silicon Valley office for research and collaboration, and we have a US sales-based headquarters in Orange County, down in Brea. And that's where we basically head up our Canadian and US operation. And so yeah, our collaboration efforts here are mostly about finding ways to partner with companies like Amazon, which we've done successfully in the last year in the smart home side, which has been a really growing category in high tech and for our company.
Sure.
We collaborate with Qualcomm as a big partner. Of course, our customers are a big source of collaboration and getting closer to understanding the US market, what's needed for networking, what type of solutions can we provide to this market to achieve the status we've achieved everywhere else. And those are the things that I'm working on with the team here,
Sure.
is taking the asset base that we have, which is very rich and very successful everywhere else, and aligning it to U.S. Needs in terms of networking and smart.
Yeah. Collaboration obviously very important for you there.
Very important.
Yeah. And Jim, let's go to you. I know you're going to have a lot of attention from this audience. You are the director of Artificial Intelligence Lab for SUNY, the Research Development Center here right in the US. So fascinating area with a lot of high growth. Could you tell us a little bit about your role at the company and what the collaboration aspects mean for your R&D lab?
Sure. So let me first briefly introduce SUNY. SUNY is actually the largest retailer in China. So it's in terms of online sale, it's number 3, but for offline sale, it's number 1 in China. It has over 6,000 physical stores in more than 600 cities in China and other countries such as Japan. So started from retail, SUNY gradually expanded into other sectors such as financial service, sports and entertainment. In late 2013, SUNY set up its first R&D center in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto. So the reason that the SUNY set up its R&D center in Silicon Valley actually is very simple. So the first is SUNY would like to transform from a traditional retailer to a technology company. So it would like to tap into the technology talent in Silicon Valley. So that's also the lab. My lab is responsible for. We're trying to use the advanced technology, especially AI, to help transform, innovate SUNY's core business from retail to financial service and to other business. Also, the other reason that SUNY would like to set up the R&D center in Silicon Valley is to better serve its over hundreds of millions of Chinese consumers, so that they can have a chance to purchase a high quality US product from a channel they can trust. In the past, there are some you guys may know there are some different channels they can purchase product US product from the individual buyers, but that's not the brand or not the brand channel they can trust. Now they can use SUNY, the very established and reliable channel to purchase whatever high quality US product they would like. So we also establish business relationship with many brand manufacturers in the United States.
So good to hear. And it sounds like all of you have this California connection with R&D. Let me ask you this: what do you think is the difference between Chinese R&D and, let's say, U.S. R&D? Why do you have some facilities here? What is that benefit that you're getting on this end?
In terms of funding, I think recent years of funding for R&D difference between Chinese companies or Chinese governments to U.S. governments or U.S. companies are much getting smaller and smaller.
Okay.
The gap. But the way to use the funding has a lot of difference. In China, I think industry, probably most fundings are applied to some application, some experimental research more. So less fundings are used for basic research, even in universities. So in China, the university professors' research or labs research is more collaborated with industry than in US. In US, I think funding, especially in universities, a lot of professors, researchers, they have a research project which is at least 5 years ahead of its counterpart in industry. That's a basic.
Interesting.
So you'll see.
Do you feel the industry academic partnership needs to be increased to address that?
I know in China there are a lot of. The collaboration is very close. Also in US, I think there's a lot of collaborations between industry and universities. That's going even longer than US in China.
Than in China.
But from my experience, that funding, that collaboration in US is more like, is not more like gift or doing whatever you want to do thing. But in China, it's more project-based.
Interesting. Okay, good perspective. Jeff?
Similar, I think Chinese firms tend to focus on commercializing products, and I think U.S. firms tend to focus on that core invention, that basic R&D that is trying to revolutionize and invent a new product. But I think Chinese firms have done a tremendous job of taking some of that and making it commercialized and making it work better and getting it to market.
Do you see the pace the same on both? Are they both at a high pace?
I think it depends on the funding level, because honestly it's hard to carry an R&D investment without getting it commercialized. So it really depends on the company.
Sure.
I think a lot of established US-based companies have moved more towards a commercialization model because it's harder to fund the invent side of things. And so you see them moving more towards a let's make the products we have better instead of creating a new category of products. And I think that that's hurting some industries.
Interesting. Jim?
Definitely, you want to echo what Charlene and Jeff mentioned. I think China has been focusing more on the commercializing and also implementing the idea, the concept, and versus the U.S. has been focusing on conceptual, fundamental research.
Okay.
And to what BYD has been doing, because we do manufacturing in the U.S. So to us, R&D and engineering, it's becoming more cultural. So trying to have researchers and engineers in China understand the needs, the requirements in the U.S., a lot of times it becomes difficult. So setting up local R&D center to improve that kind of communication and understanding of the customer requirement technically is important.
So you have that center here to address this local market need. Do the research and development centers of both BYDs, do you share IP across if we discover something in one market that we share to the other?
Very good question. So fundamental, like core technology, definitely it's in China.
Okay.
But we do have some models, like vehicle model, like the electric bus models, that were designed here in the US, specific for the US market. The IP, we do patents here.
So you become the expert in that field? Here in the U.S., yeah.
Interesting.
We have a similar issue because the smart home business that we're involved in is a U.S.-based business primarily. The industry is booming in the U.S. And so all of our research and development and partnerships around software in the Silicon Valley, and that group kind of leads the global effort for smart home. But for networking, it's an established technology. TP-Link is an inventor there, long time, over 900 engineers in China. And so that research is done primarily in China. So the idea of getting close to the market where the market is biggest or the new things are happening is really the truth.
And your company naturally does that. So since Smart Home is here, you're leading that effort.
Correct.
And given that the Chinese market will evolve to that,
right.
Is that the transition of the R&D back to the parent company in China?
Yeah, I mean, I assume so. At some point, that transfer of knowledge will happen to take the lessons learned here in the most competitive market for the smart home market and apply that to China in the unique way that China needs smart home.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tweaked for each, I'm sure.
Right.
So let me ask you this. If we have this nice balance of R&D on both sides, how can companies, and remember your audience here is trying to figure this out too, how can we make that easier or better or have that help both economies and companies on both sides of the Pacific?
I think it's more like a collaboration BYD is a private company and it's all interlinked to us. It's all interlinked. It's a business-oriented and technology-based business operation. So to us, collaboration and a healthy environment is definitely the key to run everything smoothly, no matter it's in China or in the US.
So you're all working for Chinese firms with large US presence. Have you seen any issues and concerns as a Chinese firm doing business in this economy? Anything that's held you back, helped you, hurt you?
Not until recently, the trade war. Everything has been supportive and positive for like our company, BYD. We, since 2010, BYD has invested over $300 million US dollars in Southern California. But since we have global international supply chain, so the trade war is becoming a huge concern for our future business in the U.S. It's not about the politics. It's about competitiveness. You use that because of these geopolitical activities between the two countries.
Sure.
That would create a huge problem for business, like for companies like BYD.
Anything you're doing specific, any of you, with regards to that, knowing the political climate that we're working in today?
It's a little too
adjust.
new,
Okay.
you know?
Okay.
I mean, but the challenges that we have at TP-Link in terms of a Chinese company established here, because we're a branded company, there are unique challenges there. We're selling to consumers, a big portion of our business, and so brand recognition. Everyone here knows TP-Link, but not everyone in the U.S. knows TP-Link very well. And so there's a challenge there to build brand equity, and it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's very hard work for a Chinese company to come and establish their brand in the U.S., but you're seeing it more and more, and I do think that that is a trend because of the huge economies of scale that they already have globally. All they're missing is familiarity. The products are great. The pricing is competitive. It's just the brand familiarity. One unique thing we've seen in the U.S., of course, we have a lot of expats from headquarters working here, right? It's a great experience for them to get U.S. experience and then go back and bring the learnings to China. The problem we're having is many of them want to get back to China.
Yeah.
China's booming. And so what used to be a great assignment 3 to 5 years in the United States, they don't want anymore, right? They want to go back. Or if they have a family, they don't want to be here very long with their young kids. And so we're having a difficult time getting headquarters-based employees to work in the United States, which is not something I've seen in working in the 20-plus years I've worked with Asia-based companies.
Interesting.
So the economy in China and all of the opportunities that people have there, frankly, are a bit bigger than what they have working, in the U.S. for a China-based company.
Interesting perspective. Any of you else experiencing something similar?
That's too new to.
Too new? Yeah. Okay. To be determined. Hopefully, we'll see. What about national security concerns? That seems to also be coming up as a part of this trade war discussion. I know at BYD you had a concern with, cities, but the city said, no, put your manufacturing plant in here before we buy the buses from you. It's, there's always the politics piece of that. Are any of you having that concern or seeing that
Just
within your
quickly to respond to what JB, what you just mentioned. What BYD has been doing is not highly related to those national security aspect. So we are a pure technology provider and solution provider for electrification and also a clean tech, clean energy, and nothing like chipset or those things. So probably, I don't know if TP-Link has.
We have not dealt with that thus far.
Okay.
And although it's always a risk, but we've not had any of those national security related issues.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. That's always good. Let's move the discussion maybe into a more sector-based discussion. I know a lot of our students in the audience watching from industry remote are very concerned about their industry, and I thought maybe we'd talk with the high-tech sector to begin with. Because in China, we saw a lot of the applications and technology products develop have striking similarities to some U.S. products. They get very large, and then the U.S. tech firms emulate some of those. So we're actually seeing innovation occur on both sides and come in. Are you seeing something similar where your products are leapfrogging one another? Do you think this, if we could collaborate, both economies and both sides could benefit rather than this copy-repeat type of leapfrogging that we see in the technology industry?
I think iFlyTech probably it's not familiar by a lot of people here with our English name, right? But in our Chinese brand, probably a lot of people know us, 科大讯飞. So we are more like Alexa or Amazon on Alexa model, right? In China.
In China.
So in terms of copy or just in similar business there, since we started this speech technology 19 years ago, so we focus more on Chinese language, but now we saw the market demands overseas, because either Amazon or Google, they don't offer Chinese interfaces or for Chinese speaking
Avoid in the marketplace there, yeah.
Right. So that's the reason we thought maybe we focus more on in China market for so many years, and we can bring that features, Chinese features to globally, so we can bring these wonderful technologies to benefit everyone, overseas Chinese customers.
Natives, yeah, sure.
So that's it's not. I think the collaboration of this kind of technology or market can promote the user experience for our customers.
Gotcha. Yeah, especially true as you go more from business to consumer models to help.
Right.
So very interesting. Well, let me ask you. Shenzhen, of course, is a very special economic zone within China, where, let's say, the intellectual property is much more free flow. The rules are a little bit more relaxed in that market, and of course, Tim Cook very famously said Apple has to be in Shenzhen just to take advantage of this rapid hardware change. It's just you can't not be there. So. I'm wondering, the U.S. firms tend to be very, let's patent everything and let's try to save this technology, whereas in Shenzhen, it's a natural flow that has really increased the pace of innovation. Do you see this as a hindrance for U.S. companies, perhaps, and maybe Chinese companies are going to get an advantage, or vice versa? How is that affecting your own development? With this?
I think it's an advantage for sure. The industries
the sharing of the IP is an
yeah,
advantage.
absolutely. The sharing of the IP is the key to establishing new markets. If you look back, I spent a lot of years in the PC industry, and early on, the PC industry was famous for not suing each other and doing a lot of cross-licensing and patents, even between Microsoft and even between Microsoft and Apple, believe it or not, and certainly between all the hardware manufacturers. When technology was discovered, a better way of doing things, they were cross-licensed and shared, because the idea was we need to get this entire new category of technology to grow.
It helped everyone.
And so everybody benefited.
Yeah.
What they say is when an industry gets mature, everyone starts to sue everybody over IP. that means they have nowhere else to go but sue over IP, right? So I definitely think if you want new industries to grow and to grow fast, then the sharing of technology is important. Nevertheless, people do need to protect their technology, so there is definitely a balance to that. And but I do believe what's happening in Shenzhen with the sharing of IP will definitely accelerate innovation.
Interesting. Yeah. Same, agree. Well, let's maybe we move to more autonomous automation, robotics, artificial intelligence. Jim, I'm sure there's a big area for you. Really, you start to see that both China and U.S. are making huge investments in artificial intelligence. And it has become almost a race between, but yet there could be, as we just said, tremendous opportunities from collaborating. Do you see this as an opportunity for survival of the fittest and the best country win, or is there an opportunity for greater collaboration, especially in this very unique area where the more knowledge you have on the data, the better the products actually become?
Yes, I would say that it's more than that. So the market for the AI and AI-based application is huge. It can accommodate more than one winner or more than two winners. So I would not say that one like AI company will take over the whole world, but I would say like for each sector, for each like application domain, there will be like multiple winners which will serve the consumers. So that in this kind of like domain, we're seeing more collaboration. The collaboration will benefit both sides, both like U.S. companies and China companies, also benefit the individual consumers.
I think it's not who needs who. It's like 1 + 1 is larger than 2.
Yeah, good point, good point. And with that, I think there's, we always have to try to figure out what's the best way to get that accomplished across the two countries. So, what about this new terminology, the Industry 4.0, the new way of manufacturing and much more advanced manufacturing? Of course, China has been known the last 20 or 30 years as the world's manufacturer, and now it's becoming much more IP-based oriented. There's been thoughts and concerns of, well, if we can 3D print the parts at the place they're needed, do we need to have this massive shipping across the Pacific Ocean that we have today with the parts coming in? So we're seeing a lot of changes in that space. Do you see advantages and disadvantages of this new automation? Because really, at least 3 of the 4 of you are doing, all of you actually are doing manufacturing within your businesses. How is that affecting your future business outlook there?
I think it's already happening. It's huge. Even China has a huge aging issue. It's no longer a world's factory with that tag anymore. But I think China is also transforming itself from a traditional like labor-intense type of manufacturing to high-tech automation, like the Industry 4.0 type of manufacturing is in the transition period right now. And companies like BYD, like we even manufacturing, I can use electric buses as an example. Manufacturing buses is labor intense. We have 1,000 buses capacity. We hire about 1,000 people in Lancaster. So it's a lot of people. But even with that, we implemented a lot of like ERP systems and cloud-based management, planning, automation, and CNC, all those computer-based, cloud-based systems to help with the efficiency. And you have to do that to remain competitive. And it's all integrated.
Interesting. Others?
I mean, manufacturing has always found the lowest cost area to be done.
Yeah.
And whether it was in Mexico in the 80s, and that's the total cost of the supply chain. That is having all of the supply chain companies around you. That is transportation costs. Transportation from China to the U.S. is not cheap for items,
Yeah.
but the labor cost difference is huge. And so I think to the extent that manufacturing 4.0 lowers cost in a certain area, I think that's where you'll see manufacturing evolve. It takes time,
Sure.
but that's where it will evolve. And certainly, if US-based tech companies could manufacture their goods here, they probably would, because there's a lot of benefits to doing that, but it's cost prohibitive today. So if that dynamic changes, then I think it's a significant change in industries, particularly high tech.
And do you think as the industry digitizes more, where you have more intellectual property going back and forth, is this going to change that dynamic? Is this going to accelerate? Is this going to hurt certain markets?
I think it depends. In the high-tech space for hardware, it's really a labor base. So if manufacturing becomes less labor-intensive and can be done at lower costs in mature economies like the United States, you'll see it move to the United States.
You'll see it move here. Interesting. Yeah, good point. Let's talk maybe a little bit about commerce as well, because you might have the Alibaba versus Amazon, or Google versus, we have these big competitors. Understanding consumer behavior and buying purchases and the data analytics behind that is a huge opportunity. But the value comes in the amount of data. The value comes in what collaboration you're doing across. Do you see that as an opportunity for cross-border companies to collaborate more, whether they're in the same company or partnerships? Or do you see this as this is another battle that we're going to have to fight and you're going to see two different worlds grow up?
I think in terms of the consumer data, it's a big data session. It's pretty new session and it needs a lot of regulation recently. The collaboration, cross-border collaboration, for now, I didn't see there's a lot of freedom or, you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But I firmly hope there will have more feasible regulations on both sides can facilitate the collaboration on this data side, which will, in the end, benefits customers.
Agree.
So I see in the past decade, like big tech agents such as Google and Amazon, they spend a huge effort in analyzing users' online behavior to understand the users' online behavior. So, but for the next stage, I was a gradual shift that there will be more opportunity in like understanding users' offline behavior and also combine users' offline behavior with online behavior so that we can better serve individual consumers. For example, when the user walk into a physical store with Suning, we can use like computer vision technologies to associate these individual users with our online profile so that we can for example, track users' behavior inside the store, understand the user's intent. So combined with online data we collected, we can better serve users' need, not only in the physical store, but also in the future in the online part.
Yeah, especially true for your businesses, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, this is interesting. We have a bunch of business leaders saying that if we could just get the politics out of the way, we'd make the items work very better. So let me ask you, one of the things that has come up with government's involvement in this is mergers and acquisitions across borders. I mean, especially in fast-moving sectors, there is an opportunity for companies to buy new capabilities cross-border. Sometimes the governments on both sides are not anxious for that. We've seen that with the U.S. preventing part supplies to ZTE, the mobile smartphone manufacturer in China, or Qualcomm's acquisition of NXP, the semiconductor company, being blocked in China's side. It definitely hurts things out, you know, when we talk about that. Can you give us your thoughts on that capability? Do you buy new knowledge capabilities cross-border? Do you see that as something you want to keep in-house as a strategic advantage? How do you do that across border, if at all?
I mean, I think it's been very effective for a lot of companies. I mean, if you even look at Mexico, Walmart in Mexico, they had to do joint venture to really penetrate that consumer base, right? I think it's hard even, you know, we know how difficult it is for a US company to compete in China without a China partner. It's similar for Chinese companies in the US. So I think acquisition is a really good way to get there quickly. And as long as you're not doing the high profile political style acquisition, then I think those will probably continue. And I think it's a great way to expand your business internationally, is to go you're only as good as the local knowledge in any country you expand to. You can't expect Americans to know how to do business in China and vice versa. And so you have to find a way to find local talent and have it be able to reconcile with your company culture, which would be different, and quickly gain access to the market. So I think it needs to continue. It's a shame that it's now a little bit discouraged, but I think this will pass. It's very high profile political stuff that will pass, I think.
And I think your audience would agree with you. We hope it does pass. Any other thoughts in that area?
I cannot agree more with Jeff. And regardless of current developments, I think for companies, for example, like iFlyTech, we dominate Chinese market, but when we get overseas, we saw a lot of difficulties to localize our products with our organic grown teams. We have to build up a local team. By building a local team, as you know, fastest way might be the acquisition talents. You know. So I agree with Jeff's.
Good point. Hopefully we're all a local team someday. So that would be the objective. Yeah, we also see that with capital inflows and outflows and the restrictions that China has. Have any of your companies had concerns or issues with capital outflow restrictions in investing in overseas markets, US or other? Is it?
If I can answer, yes. The answer is yes.
Sure, tell us about it, please.
Number one, from the company standpoint, our parent company is in China. If we want to do further investment, there might be a problem. Number two, when we work on some of the transportation projects that involves a lot of investment internationally, not only for the vehicles, but also for local infrastructure, constructions, all those things. It's they're huge projects. So getting international funding and investments from overseas, especially from China, like banks from China, would be becoming more difficult. And that would significantly delay the project or even kill the project.
Oh, interesting. Joe, same thing?
Yes, I would say like for Sony USA, it's we do not only have the R&D team, we also have investment team. We have been looking into like the multiple investment opportunities, especially related to commerce and the technology sectors. But sometimes you can imagine that due to the restriction of a capital outflow, so our pace is not fast enough. We lose like a multiple investment opportunity. For example, for like a certain startup company, they need to that we need to take the investment from us, but they require us to like close the deal within 1 month, within 2 months. But it's in nowadays environment, the whole procedure to get that kind of that kind of money to Silicon Valley, it takes longer than that. It needs a lot of approval in the headquarters, also in Chinese government.
Interesting. Yeah, be rushed a little bit there to make it happen. So, okay. And I tell you what, I want to also give our audience a chance to ask questions if you like. So, if you'd like to key up at the mic, we could get those questions prepared. Let me also ask you this: where do you see those biggest opportunities for Chinese firms and U.S. firms to come together, share scientific and technology, intellectual property, and then do better for both sides? Any best opportunity you see?
I would definitely say integration. Use the best what each country is good at. So, for example, in China, China has a lot of. We're in the EV industry. So China has huge battery manufacturing capacity and technology. Like BYD is one of them. We should use that. It's not widely available in the U.S.
Yeah.
Why not use that?
Yeah.
It's a good one, actually.
And in the U.S., a lot of AI, technology, autonomous driving, autonomous technologies that we can incorporate and integrate into the whole system, cars or any systems. So it's all about integration and collaboration, because if you don't do that, you lose the market. You lose your competitiveness, and then your competitors from other countries will take over the opportunity.
Sure.
Then it's lose-lose situation. So the opportunity for the two countries is all about collaboration and integration.
Interesting.
Technically.
Same. Yeah. Good for us all to take into consideration there. So, yeah, let's take a question from the audience, if we could, please.
Hi. Thank you very much for being here. My name's Nick. I'm an undergrad at UCLA. After graduation, I'll be working at BofA Merrill Lynch in their Palo Alto office doing technology investment banking. So I definitely resonate with a lot of what you guys said up here. My question is, so in your respective verticals, do you feel like the Chinese companies have caught up with the US companies in terms of technological development? Or do you think there's still a long way to go? And even outside your vertical, do you think there's any major fields where Chinese companies still have a significant lag in technology? Thank you.
You may all feel that you're at the top of your game for your various industry, but yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, I think for TP-Link, definitely very competitive and at the top of their field. I think that even our competitors in the U.S. are using Chinese companies to build, design their products. So the issue in networking and, of course, smart home is not necessarily the core technology. I definitely, TP-Link in that industry has reached a dominant level. It's really the marketing and branding and building a lifetime customer base is really the challenge in my space.
I think part of the reason we open an office in Silicon Valley is we still think Silicon Valley or US is still the source of the innovation in terms of AI or emerging technologies, research. You know, if you don't involved in this circle, you will get, you know,
Right.
out. So
Have to be a player in the game to
No,
make
yeah.
something happen. So interesting. Who else?
I think that's definitely as each side has its strengths. Like for Chinese companies, they are very good at execution speed. Once you have a strategic decision, it's very it could be very fast to them to implement the product, to put the product into the market. But for the U.S. firms, they are more good at experimenting different ideas, developing, evaluating different prototypes, and try to learn from academia the latest advancement in research and try to develop different prototypes. So if we can combine the strengths on the two sides, that will be a beneficial to both sides.
Good to say. All right. Thank you for your question. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Andrew Pan, East West Bank. So my question to the panel, basically earlier session that Dr. Yu mentioned about the ZTE incident just happened recently. So I still recall a few years ago, the ZTE US President Chen Lixin, he spoke at the Asia Society conference, and he showed his ZTE cell phone. He said, I'm very proud of this cell phone. It's a global product. It's actually used a lot of, it's manufactured in China, but use a lot of American components. Basically, with this incident, that with this sanction, so ZTE yesterday had a press conference that they shut down their whole operation. About 80,000 employees that are actually rested without any job. And also at the same time, Qualcomm, all the American companies also lose the market. So I don't think there's a winner. So my question is, do you think this is a independent case, or it's a trend? Given some of your companies also technology manufacturing and sell to the U.S. market, do you think this is see the potential threat?
I think I'm not qualified to comment this in general, but I can just tell my personal observation. Now it's impossible for any product you can find manufactured in only one country. So in this background, I think, I hope there's more collaboration and interactions between cross-border instead of opposite. That's my hope.
I agree. I think. Thanks for the question, Andrew. I think it's political and it hurts business. As a private company trying to do good things, becoming a good actor in the U.S., in the international market, this is playing a huge impact to companies like BYD's future strategy, expanding the plan in the U.S. And I think in general this is very, like what I said, it's interrelated, it's interlinked everywhere. It's like what you mentioned, like ZTE, they shut down their operation just as Qualcomm, they probably lose their 30, maybe even more business market share. So it's a lose-lose. Like this reminds me of like about 10 years ago, when the big three car manufacturers in Detroit, they had issues, and people talk about, oh yeah, we should buy American cars. So some people they became very extreme, and they damage any Japanese cars on the road. And I saw a car, Mazda car on the road with a sign on the windshield saying, "My car is assembled in the U.S." I think it's political, but the market and the two countries will find the balance eventually.
It's the lack of stability too, right? It's random.
You mean
So-
the unknown for within
Yes,
business?
the unknown. So who's next, right? So if the rules were clearly laid out, and these are the tariffs, and this is what it's going to be, these are the industries for the next 20 years, then business people adapt. But the randomness is what it's what, as Patrick said, it makes everybody pause their investment. We have to get past this hesitation.
Yeah.
So we need to understand whatever the path forward's going to be, it needs to be communicated, or everybody will pause their investment.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah, the uncertainty, I think.
Yeah, business hates uncertainty.
Yeah.
No question about it. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Hong Si Wong. I'm an undergraduate here in UCLA. I just wanted to ask, the panel mentioned earlier that one of the differences between US and Chinese tech companies is that Chinese tech companies tend to like to commercialize technologies, whereas the US companies oftentimes tend to focus more on the core technology, the core innovation in itself. And that reminded me of an article I read a while back commenting on how oftentimes Chinese patents, while innovative, has its roots based in a different patent and lacks the core innovative aspect of it. I just wanted to know the panel's thoughts on whether this claim is true or not, and if so, how does that affect the relationship between U.S. and Chinese tech companies and maybe trade in between the countries?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of intellectual property sharing. Maybe we put that in quotes. But a good way to put it. But any thoughts on?
I remember Professor Yu has a curve over there showing the recent years China has an increase rapidly on patent filing, right? iFlyTech, for example, as a technology company originated from and highly committed to innovations, we believe the value of the intellectual property as a core of the healthy development of the technology companies. We put a lot of value on this intellectual property, and we think the protection of intellectual property is not only for individual companies, it's also for the global, the value is tremendous for the global economies. So I don't know other companies, I mean a lot of companies like iFlyTech in China, we are really committed to this protection of IP, compliance with regulations or licensing things.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. You are going to do business overseas. That's.
My question is about blockchain. If you look at each of you individually, how will blockchain impact your business, and by when will we see a real impact?
A lot of activity around blockchain recently. So.
Although I don't have that knowledge to just comment in general, but I think blockchain is the next disruptive technologies happening. Why? As we can see, back in few decades, we first have we have AI which can have the control of the. We first have mobile phone, mobile technologies. Then we have AI. First we have internet, then mobile, then AI as a disruptive. Why? Because they have the control of the. And then next thing I think might be blockchain, because the control point of the data or sharing, collections.
Yeah.
I would say like the blockchain is a very promising technology, and we already seen the application for blockchain technology in like Bitcoin. So the challenge of like a blockchain technology, I would say at least the two like challenge for blockchain technology. One thing is to find some killer applications outside of like virtual currencies such as Bitcoin, to find more convincing application domains for this technology. The second thing is that for the blockchain technology with this kind of distributed the storage system, we need to somehow to make the technology more cleaner. That means to this technology need to find a way to consume less energy. So right now, we already heard that for Bitcoin, so it already consume more than, I don't know the exact number, 2% or 3% more than the whole energy use is just for finding Bitcoin. So which is not good for the economy, which is not good for the environment, which is not good for the whole society. I would say more innovation we'll see more innovation in these two aspects.
Okay. Let me just ask each of our panelists, just before we go, bullish or bearish on the collaboration opportunities between China and the U.S.? Charlene?
I'm pretty positive about future collaborations in technologies field, because AI technology is getting much mature and ready to apply to a lot of area in our daily lives. That needs a lot of collaboration for sure. And the emerging technologies like blockchain create a lot of opportunities and investment opportunities, and might be the next disruptive technology to watch over.
Jeff, more
I'm
bullish?
very bullish on collaboration in the future, notwithstanding the current circumstances. China has shown over the last 10 years that it's a formidable partner, and the United States needs to find a way to collaborate or they will fall behind. So I think that was not the case 20 years ago. And so this will get sorted out. There are lots of politics between now and then, but the technology will win, and China has done a tremendous job to innovate, and that will be recognized.
Patrick, your thoughts?
Definitely bullish. I think the future is bright in terms of the collaboration between the two countries, because we don't have other options. The market is huge in China, and it's huge in the US, and the two countries are so big and great, and the foundation of the collaboration is already there.
Yeah.
So it's too big to fail, and everyone is trying to find the win-win situation, not the lose-lose situation.
Absolutely.
So we don't have other options.
Jim?
Yes, definitely I agree. I'm very bullish on the collaboration. With collaboration between these two countries, we'll see faster innovation. We'll see more the more innovative companies, products, and coming out from this kind of collaboration. Eventually, ordinary consumers will benefit from this kind of collaboration.
Good to hear. I like to hear those good attitudes. So I tell you what, we will take a break for the conference here, but please help me thank our esteemed panel here.